Here we are at the start of the early summer 1086 turn. The different sides drew their cards. The Christians got the drought card, which forces the Muslims to either discard the camels card or immediately feed two lords that aren't in certain locations. So they actually had the camels card, so they discarded it. And they also got arid terrain, which is basically the same thing, except you can play it as the Muslim lords are marching. So that's going to be a real pain that they'll inflict at some point. The Muslims got camp attack, which is just a way to like steal assets and stuff. And then the other one, which segues us into the upkeep before the turn goes, is this very interesting card, the Count of Barcelona. Now this isn't even eligible to be selected if Eudes, I think is how you say his name. Anyways, the Count of Barcelona basically is on the map. So if he's on the map, they can't play this. But since he's not, they can. They can levy it for a asset, which they did, and then basically you can, during one of the muster phases, pay 2 coins to receive 2 knights and 2 men-at-arms. That's huge. I mean, they don't have access to knights either, otherwise. So they stuck it with Almoravid because they said, okay, well, he can get 2 knights and 2 men-at-arms. And sure, he'll have to feed more, but like those are such quality forces that he will absolutely be able to go up here and break one of these sieges. He could probably just go up here and break these. You know, they'll stack and then go up there and hit the big boys. Might as well, right? But the problem with that is that very skillful move at the very beginning that reduced Almoravid by 1. Remember when Sancho ran over there and kind of captured him and forced him to retreat? He probably should have just stayed in his seat. I'm not entirely sure because I think things might have gone worse. I don't know. I felt like it was the right thing to do at the time, but who knows? But now it could possibly go away this turn. So they're going to have to spend the coin that's on his mat to move him back 1, which means that it says pay 2 coins. Normally, like if 2 lords, let's say like these two, Al-Mustain and Al-Mundir together, let's say he didn't have a coin and he did. From what I understand, Al-Mustain could spend that coin to pay him to stay. So if they need 2 coins to pay for this card, I'm assuming that they could take his coin and his coin to pay for it. I don't think it has to come from him if they're together. I could be wrong, but it doesn't matter because the coin being gone from here means that there are none. There's not 2 in that location. So now they cannot muster that, which is huge because that really, I think, would have negated any good things that the Christians were going to get for them as far as victory points goes from the start up there in the northeast. Also, spending a coin will be Sancho to stay in the field. They at least want to be able to get that siege off. I don't think they're going to be able to keep him around for the final turn, to be honest. They might be able to get him over with Garcia, who has a coin, but they at least want to get that siege done because that would be wasted time if they hadn't. Okay, we're going to go to muster now. All right, all of the levy and stuff is out of the way. The victory points coming into the turn sit at 11 to 8 because of the 1.5 they got from moving the Almoravid lords again. Brutal, brutal, brutal combination. But now we're going to go up here to the northeast where the Christians are starting off with Alvar. And there you go. And they are going to attempt to get a surrender here. So, miraculously, this worked last time we did it at a fortress. They just ravaged, which takes up to 8.5 victory points. So it's 3 or less they have to roll on, but they need 2 die to do it on, unlike the 1 they needed for Sancho. So let's zoom out so you can get the roll in here. Well, there you go. They get it, so they have a better luck rolling 2 under 3 than they do 1 under 3. So they will conquer this. Now, this is different than earlier, because this is an independent typhus kingdom or lord, unlike the Reconquista area down here. So the process is a little bit different. So it was surrendered, not sacked, because they didn't storm it. So they'll place 2 conquered markers because it's a fortress. So we're going to remove the siege markers, obviously. And this is the start of those dominoes for the Christians. They've kind of set this up, and now they need them all to fall at this point just to draw a level, not even to go ahead, just to get them even with the Muslims. So need 2 conquered markers. The ravaged is going to flip to this side, which is a little bit of a disadvantage of doing the ravaged in this one. On the victory track over here, it's going to take this to 11.5 and this to a half, which would take them to 9, 10. It's technically 8.5 to 10.5, but they lose a half a point. So now they're only down by 1.5, which is much better. And I don't believe there are any spoils that come associated with this. Let me just double check. Ending battle or storm. Again, no spoils as far as I can tell. So they just get the conquered markers. So that is domino number 1 in fallen there. And now they just need the same thing to happen in here. They would get 1 conquer, which would take them to half. So that would take them to 10.5, which would be a 1-point gap, which is much more manageable. So that's Alvar. And now we will go to the Muslims. The Muslims moved Abu Allah in the west. So now Sancho is up next, and he's going to try that same thing, rolling to try and break the siege with a surrender. 1 to 3, same as the last time. And it's another unsuccessful roll. Can you see it? No, that might be the problem. The ones I've shown, you actually see the roll. You've been able to see that it was rolling a 1 to a 3. The ones off camera haven't worked well. So still no from Sancho. He cannot break that siege, which means that he does have a second card stacked in there, but they were really hoping to have them both done with the siege so they could converge on Zaragoza together. Everybody, lockstep over there. But now Sancho is not going to be able to. They thought about putting a third card in there, but it's just so hard to spend 1 of 3 of your 8 on, basically your smallest guy out there. So unsuccessful yet again. So Al-Mutamid increased the siege, added another siege marker out west, but now we're at a very interesting decision. Alvar decides to march to Zaragoza. And he wants to force something here because the terrain kind of works out for him. So he has some ideas of what happens next, but the first decision is, does Al-Mundir want to avoid battle? He can either do that by marching to another location or withdrawing into the city. He doesn't want to fight a battle because they're a little bit mismatched as far as forces goes. Anything can happen, but you don't really want to risk it, because then if you get beat up, then you retreat into the city, and then that makes the storm easier. So I'll keep that one on the back burner while I explain the rest of it to you. So let's say we have the next 2 options: pull away or withdraw into the city. If we withdraw into the city, then my thinking is, well, this is just a matter of time. Basically, it's run the clock out time. We're up by 2. They're going to have to storm because we have guys inside. So they're going to have to come up against the walls of the city, the hardest one to break through, with everybody inside. That's a very tall task. And that means we could probably run out the clock. But the problem with that I think makes it impossible is over here. Everybody runs out. Pretty much everybody runs out of service very soon. Everybody but Al-Mutamid will be gone at the beginning of next turn. Now, of course, people can pay to keep themselves on, but not everybody has coin. Al-Mundir and Al-Mustain do not have coin. They had to spend it. So the Muslim lords chucked all of their coins into the typhus box so that they can get it to people like Al-Mundir who are far away from where the coins were in the west. So they can access it from anywhere. The problem is that you can't if you're besieged. So if they stay in Zaragoza and are besieged, remember, they would have to technically abandon the siege in the northeast with Sancho, but still they could do it. When next turn comes up, and this is public information, they're going to go away and they'll be able to either attempt to get the city to surrender or storm it outright if the clock runs out. So that's not great. So I think that's off the cards. I think staying in the city is off the cards. So the other option, which makes it be the only option, is to withdraw, retreat. They can't withdraw or retreat this way. They could, but they're not going to because the only path is the one that meets up here. They would be stuck literally like a baseball runner trap between first and second, like just not a good idea. They cannot withdraw this way. They don't want to withdraw this way because they can march again, and then if they want to withdraw, they'd have to use the pass, which wouldn't be great with their transportation situation. So they can either go north or east. East is better than north, but it took them. They took one action here, 2 actions. So then let's say they go here, they retreat, they follow them for 3. They could follow them for 4 here, so they could end up all the way back here if they're forced down, and then there's no way back. Like the paths over here are blocked back up, so because it's a one-way road here, so they could basically get trapped out, and it's just not a good situation. So this is really not ideal over here, no matter what they choose, which is what makes me think that a battle may not be that bad of an idea. Fight, and if things go wrong, then run or withdraw into the city. But like just running, because you may get lucky and win, in which case technically all of the problems go away. Now they also, on the flip side, the Christians also are in the same boathouse. Everyone's going to go away at the beginning of next turn. Now, they have the coins to keep everybody around. They just don't have them in the right places. There's something about a curia. I don't know if it works the same way. I don't see a box for it. So I'll have to look that up. But if it operates the same way, where you have to be in the same place, what I'm thinking about doing, and I may think about it to do it regardless of whatever the curia is Alvar and Sancho don't have the coins to keep them around. So, with the limited time that's remaining, I think I'm going to pull Alfonso. He has all 4 of his cards coming up. Pull Alfonso up here. Abandon Toledo. Let the Muslim lords come in, and hopefully they don't have time to take back Toledo. They're going to have to get everybody there. I don't know if they've arranged their cards in such a way that that's even possible. They may not have. They may lose a turn, in which case they have 1 turn to do it. We know Alfonso's got all of his, so he can go up there, maybe pound his way through, and then he'll be up there with everybody to give them coins to keep them around. So that may be the only option. So I think I'm going to do that regardless, but it doesn't help the situation with what for Almoravid to do. Like I said, we could fight and hope we win, but because we may not get to use these guys at all, we just have to keep them unbesieged to keep them around at all. So if they withdraw after fighting and lose, they're in no better or worse situation really than if they just withdraw regularly, because the idea here is to end up inside of a fortress or a stronghold to run out the clock. They'll have to do that down here somewhere, I guess, if they abandon it. I don't know. I'm just thinking that maybe they get lucky with a battle. And then if they don't, they can pull away. Because then if they pull away, it doesn't matter. The forces were gonna. They're not. You could have one guy. It doesn't matter. They just need to keep them around so that these two places don't go into Parius. Both Mustaine and the Mundir. They just need to keep them around. So it doesn't matter how many pieces they have, just as long as they've got one to keep them on the board. So you might as well try to win this fight. If things don't go well, then retreat to somewhere else, but at least give it a go. That may be a terrible idea, but the forces are pretty evenly matched. It's just the quality of the forces is the only problem. And I don't really know if they have any good Art of War cards. They don't really. So I think we're going to fight. I'm going to go back and look at the Curia. I'm going to look at the withdrawal rules in the battle sequence to make sure that, like, it's okay. I know it's okay to withdraw, but, like, how that process works. I'm going to run through all of that, but I'm kind of leaning towards fighting outside the walls of Zaragoza and then pulling away if needed. Okay, so I've thought about it quite a bit, and I looked at the rules. Everything's kosher minus one thing. If the retreating player rolls one die for each retreating lord, and then removes their service marker by half of the die. So 1 or 2 means you move it 1 spot, 3 or 4 moves it 2, 5 or 6 moves it 3. So basically, if they do, basically the idea here was, well, we can fight and then just withdraw if things aren't going our way and we won't really lose anything. Well, they'll at least be losing 2 coins, because I think they can still pay, because they're not going to be besieged. They're going to have withdrawn. But you're going to lose those 2 coins, and it's just going to move their marker 1 to where they're already going to be next turn. So what I'm trying to say here is that this, if you want to fight, you have to win. There's no middle ground, because you're going to lose these 2 guys if you don't. Because I probably won't pay for them if they have to withdraw. So you fight to the death. And at that point, then you might as well just withdraw within the city and let them disband next turn. But basically, it's fight to win, and just examining the tables, it's tough. They've got 2 good cards, actually, that can help them. One lets them mess with their supply stuff, their assets, but the Christians have a card to cancel it. And then they have another one that's Shield Wall that helps them fight against Horse, but they have to wait till round 2. Well, if they get decimated in round 1, round 2 means they're basically just trying to increase casualties on the opponent's side. So I don't see the really big upside to winning. I don't see them winning in an outright fight. So the thing about it is, if they do get removed, which is if you're contingency planning here, if they are removed, then Zaragoza and Lerida go to Lerida, I'm not sure what it is, go to Parius, because their lords have been removed. So that's 1 victory point for each, if I'm not mistaken. Independent to Parius, 1 victory point, yeah. So I think it's just 1 for the whole thing, to my knowledge, is what I think. So that means that we get 2 victory points from that. Housekeeping, by the way, I had a card that I drew earlier that did not say hold. It said play, and it just places 2 ravaged markers. I think you can go back to episode 1 and see where I did that. I didn't play it. So when I was looking through their Art of War cards, I noticed it. So they're actually on 13 victory points. So if they fight and lose, or they get rid of the beginning of next turn, then they'll gain 2 victory points here. So they'll be at 12 to 13. They're going to get 1 extra victory point for moving these guys back, so it's going to stay at a 2-point gap. Which, is 2 points enough? It might be. My worry is that if they stay, on the battlefield and withdraw. And then the Christians siege down Zaragoza and capture it. It's Reconquista. That's 3 victory points for the Christians, plus the 3 victory points, from what I understand, on the conquered markers. So that's 6. That's the game. There's not enough padding. So it's almost better to deny the Christians the Reconquista. Just let them get the Parias. Maybe win the battle. If you don't, let them get the Parias. And that way you still got a little bit of a buffer, you know what I mean? Of 2 points. So, and it's going to be less than 2 points, actually, because the ravaged markers are going to flip. It's going to be more for the, it's not going to be quite that good. And do they lose the 2 conquered victory markers up here if that goes away? When stuff switches over, I'm just perusing independent to Parias right here at the top. Christian lords at Muslim stronghold that would go neutral, yada, yada, yada. They remove that. I don't see anything about it. That's the one thing I had the question earlier, which I asked in the forums about. You're actually losing a victory point by this happening, because it's 2 victory points they have up here that they got. So if it switches, that's now friendly territory, and you lose those. I don't know. I would imagine they stay, and I'm sure it's probably in the rule book. I would imagine they'd stay, because then it's literally better for the Muslims to just straight up remove the pieces, just in general. Fight with no sense of consequence, and then they know that they're going to be a victory point better off, or they're going to be even, because those 2 up there. So surely that's not right. But also, if they lose, then they deny that if it is right, and you do keep these, and you could deny, by losing this battle, this guy from picking up a victory point there. So that's all to say I don't really know what to do. The more I think about it, the more I think fight, and if you lose, you lose. But I'm really worried about them getting Reconquista in Zaragoza if we leave. And that would be the game. And they have 2 turns to do it. They're going to spend the whole time just pounding away with nobody inside. They're going to get to 4 siege works, and then put down a ravage marker, and so then they've got to just roll 5 or less on 3 die. And I'm pretty sure they can do that, so that is just too good. It's going to take them a while, but they can get it done by the end of the game. We're going to have to go up there and break that siege, and I don't think we can do it. If we can't win in an open fight now, why are we going to be able to win in an open fight later? And there might, with the coins and everything, it's just not a good situation to be in. I think we're going to fight. I'm going to break out the board and set it up for a big fight outside Zaragoza that could well decide the fate of victory or defeat in this game. Okay, we are a go for the battle. I did check, and the conquered markers do stay. So you could, in theory, conquer every stronghold and then convert the last into Parias, and you would get to keep all the points. So they will get to keep those, which is good. So this is how we're going to set up. It's going to be Alvar facing off against Almundir, and Garcia up against Almustain. Let me show the forces first. They're almost mirrored together. Like, these guys almost have the same stuff as compared to the other guys have the same stuff. So knights, they both have got some sergeants, some men-at-arms. They both have militia, though, which is the worst unit of all the forces that are here at this battle. So that could be the Achilles heel. Almundir over here has the same thing as Almustain does, which is 2 sergeants, men-at-arms, and 2 militia. Or a militia and I'm not even sure what the brown horses are. I forget off the top of my head, but we'll figure it out in a second. But yeah, they got the same thing. So the forces have a slight advantage towards the attackers. So the Arts of War cards first, they're going to play Baggage Parapet. This one says play to cancel camp attack. So like the attackers play their cards first. So let's say they weren't playing this card, and then the Muslims played camp attack. Could they then come back and play this to cancel it? Because it says attackers, then defenders. So I'm not sure. I'm just going to avoid it and play either way because it says if Christians retreat, pay 1 asset per lord, yada, yada, yada. Basically, if they retreat, they can avoid having to pay do the service stuff, the service shift, because that's really bad. So it gives them a way out of this. If things just go really bad in the first round, they've got a safety valve with this card. So somebody let me know in the comments, but I'm going to play it either way. And then 2 cards are going to be played. I'm assuming you can play more than one. I think it says play events, which of course, if they both played 1, I think you're allowed to play more than 1. But they're going to play camp attack, which will be canceled. So if you can only play 1, it's not that big of a deal because this one's going to be canceled anyways. And then Spear Wall. Spear Wall is the one they want to really play. So it doesn't affect until round 2, but it says that their armored foot have armor +1 against horse. So that could be useful. But the other one does not have an effect because of the Baggage Parapet. Okay. So now taking a look at the Battle in Storm, the battle procedure. Concede and reposition does not apply, so we're going to go on to missiles first, defenders, then attackers. So the defenders have missiles with, let's see, nobody? Only the African foot have inherent stuff with them without a capability. So yeah, they have no capability that gives them, it's just so different because I'm used to rolling every time in Nevsky for missiles, but I don't see any for these guys because none of them have the capability. The attackers also do not have that capability, so I guess that there's just straight up no missiles. Like I said, if you look on this thing, they're all grayed out. You see how it's all gray, besides the blue? Gray, 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 gray. And there's an asterisk, and so if you go over here, it says missiles by capability, missiles by garrison or capability, missiles by garrison capability, and they do not have one. So unless you got African foot, they don't got it. So, which, like I said, I'm sure it's due to the composition of the forces, and it's a historical thing, which is no problem. It's just different from playing the other one I'm used to rolling. Okay, so the defending horse will go first, which are the light horse and the sergeants. So, correct me if I'm doing this wrong, but I'm pretty sure, like, if he has 2 hits, he rolls them against him. He has 2 hits, you roll them against him. It's not like they have 4 hits, you roll them all, they negate them. It's like one-on-one combat, I'm pretty sure. So we'll do this one first, and Almundir has 3 total horse, 2 sergeant, and 1 light horse. So that is 1 hit each for the sergeants, and then a half a hit for the light horse, and you always round up, so that's 3 hits. So they'll do 3. And let me give us some room here to see the rolls, hopefully. So 3 hits. Now these are going to be negated by armor. So it's tough. Militia automatically go away. Sorry, they're called serfs. The serfs automatically go away. So I don't see the point. I mean, they just take a hit, so maybe. I don't know if you have to roll these all at the same time. Because it'd be nice to, like roll and then see, and then maybe change and roll and see, but I don't know. Total all and round up, roll any walls, battle, yada, yada, yada. Hits, owner selects which first, owner assigns hits to units. Roll 1, owner assigns hits to units, roll 1 protection per hit. Okay, so I have to assign them first, I think. So let me also give you these guys. So they have these hits, the 3 hits to assign. Light horses have 1. Sergeants have 1 to 3. So I think I may do one on each of the sergeants, and then just take a serf and get rid of him. Let's count up the foot. We're going to have 1, 2.5, 3. I guess it would round up either way. And I'll put one on the men-at-arms, because the men-at-arms have a 1 to 3 as well. Okay, so they're all rolling on 1 to 3. Sorry, he can't put that there. He's going to put it on this sergeant. So these two sergeants and that. So basically the gray pieces, all of which are 1 to 3. So we'll roll these two for the sergeants. Oof. And this one for the men-at-arms. So it's blocked, but these two are routed. That is a good opening salvo from the horse there. Now we're going to go over to the other side. That's the same thing, 3 again. And he... let's do here, here, and then let's take a serf. I don't really want to risk it and lose out that horse, so one of those hits is already taken. So we have 2 here on 1 to 3, and they both hit again. Man, that is brutal. Alright, now the attackers will do their horse. So we'll go here first. He's going to hit with 2 in battle. So 2 hits. And we're going to go up against Almoravid. Now imagine if they probably should have done these against all of these guys and let them roll here. But of course they didn't anticipate the rolls going that badly. Okay, so against Almoravid, he's going to assign all 3 hits against his horse. So 2 will be at 1 to 3, and 1 will be out of 1. So let's go the 2 to 3 first. Or sorry, under 3. So of course, naturally, those are both blocked. And then on a 1, the light horse is routed. But the other 2 stay. And so now over here, he has 1.5, which will round up to 2. Sorry, 2.5, which rounds up to 3. And he's going up against Almoravid, so he's going to do all 3 hits against... why did I roll 3 over here? Should have rolled 2. Right? Should have just rolled 2 dice, not 3. So the light horse is not routed, because the other 2 actually fine. So now it really is 3, I think, because this light horse... is still around, I believe. I might have knocked that accidentally. Or was it like this? I really forget what it is. You guys have seen it and you're yelling at me, but I forget. I feel like I didn't roll a 1 to block this. Oh, no, never mind. He was here. Yes, this is correct, because I took out this with that one, yeah. So that's 3 total hits. 2 plus half, which rounded to 3. Yeah, okay, we're good. So 3 hits. He's going to put them all against his horse. So 2 are rolling on 1 to 3. Both of those are blocked naturally. And this one's on a 1. It is not. So the light horse will go away, but they're basically unscathed. So that is a horrific first round. Just from the horses. Now onto the defending foot first. That is 1 hit. It's going to be a man-at-arms, which is 1 hit, and a militia, which is a half. So it's 2 hits coming from Almoravid to to Alvar here. It's 2 hits. Alvar is going to assign those 2 hits to these 2 guys. It's going big here. So this is a 1 to 4, and that's a 1 to 3. Okay. Okay, both good. And now over here, he's got the same thing. It's going to be 2 hits, 1.5 rounding up, and he can only assign them here and here. So this is a 1 to 3, and that is a regular 1 to 4, excuse me. Dang. They're both gone, so Garcia is removed. Garcia is out. And this has gone horribly wrong for the Christians. I really thought, I know the defender advantage is good, but it is brutal. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the attackers on foot, so that is going to be 1, 2, no rounding up. So 2 hits, and Almoravid will assign those both to his sergeants. So 1 to 3. Nah, he'll do a sergeant and a man-at-arms, so still 1 to 3, but sergeant and man-at-arms. So let's go sergeant, man-at-arms. So one of the sergeants is gone. Routed. So with that, if a lord loses all of his sides, all of a side routed, concede. Okay, that's not the case. Losers retreat where no unbesieged enemy, yada yada yada. I understand how to do that. Losses. Sorry, we haven't ended necessarily. So now we're back up to the top. Concede. Attacker then defender may declare this round as last. In which case the enemy would get pursuit, which means their hits are halved. Man, this has gone really badly. Garcia's already out. So Alvaro is going to be flanked. And he's also taken some hits. So I think we should probably concede. Yeah, I guess so. Jeez. I really don't want to have to, but he's going to be facing the flank now as well, which is not good. They can't withstand that. He's already going to face it. He can't possibly win. So, yeah, they're going to concede. So they will have the pursuit, which is a marker that is somewhere. I don't know where it is, but basically the hits are halved. I don't know if it's... let me look that up. I'm going to pause real quick and look up the pursuit, because I'm not sure whether it means the person withdrawing's hits are reduced to half, if everyone's are reduced to half, or if the people pursuing, because like they're running away, they're harder to hit, or they're running away, which means they can't hit as effectively, or if it's both. So let me check that out real quick. Yeah, so it's the person who's running away has their hits halved. They're not as effective, as would make sense. So we're going to go defending horse first, which they'll both attack. I actually don't know how flanking works either. I don't think I've ever done a battle in Nevsky either, but there's been flanking. Lower opposite flanking flank. I guess you get to just pick. Okay, so they're all going to roll here. That's for Almoravid, that is 1.5 plus 2. So 3.5 up to 4. 4 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which they will assign 1 against each. So he'll go away. So that's a 1 to 4. Oops. So he's gone. 1 to 3. He's gone. And 1. He is also gone. So that will end the battle in a huge rout. I mean, the Muslims only lost, and that we don't even know if they've lost them yet. You can see they're a light horse, and in the top right hand, and a sergeant on the other one. I mean, that is a brutal fight. I don't think I've ever seen one go so one-sided. The dice were just not in their favor. And so that means that there's going to be a few steps I'm going to go through off camera. They are very thankful that they played this baggage parapet card, because now they're going to definitely play those assets. They're going to remove those assets. The only problem is it's actually going to get worse, I think, because Alvar only has a cart. So if he loses that, he can't carry anything, and he's currently carrying all the provender because he's stacked with Garcia. So, they're only going to be able to carry one. Yeah, this is not going to be good. But let me clean all this up off camera and then bring it back. But the whole dynamic in the Northeast has totally changed, and that might just be the game for the Christians. I don't know if they'll be able to recover. I felt pretty good if they were going to win, maybe, or even a stalemate, where they don't really win and the other side retreats. By bringing Alfonso up, I felt pretty good about their situation then. But just imagine, had we just retreated and pulled away, we would have avoided this climactic battle. You guys can let me know in the comments what you would have done. Obviously, it seems easy now, but at the time, I was not expecting this. So let me do some cleanup. Okay, so no lords were completely destroyed, but we can take a look at what was lost. And these two, this piece here belongs to the Almoravid, but everything else was lost from these guys. Garcia took a real hit. Light horse, men-at-arms, and a serf. Then Alvar lost the serfs and the militia. So he's, still in fighting condition. Not really offensive fighting condition, but still could fight. Whereas Garcia's pretty well wiped. I have one question. I don't know if you guys will be able to solve it or not. But with the baggage parapet, it says, if Christians retreat, pay 1 asset per lord to skip the spoil and service shift. When does this happen? Does it happen as soon as they retreat? Or does it happen at the spoils and service step? Because if it happens at the beginning, it's actually kind of a big deal, because they wouldn't be... If it happens at the beginning, he would lose his cart, and he would have nothing. And he would lose his mule, which means they wouldn't be able to carry but 1 provender to feed these guys. Whereas if it happens at the other step, then they're in this situation that I went with. I don't really know when this takes into place. It doesn't really say. If Christians retreat, pay 1 asset per lord to skip the step. So, to skip the shift. Yeah, I don't know. I went with this, which was I didn't do it until we got there. But I don't know. Somebody can advise me on that. I don't want to make it worse than it already is by, if this card is the way that I've done it, where it's at the shift step, I don't want to, punish them more than they've already been punished. I'd rather play on the safe side than, really brutally screw them. So I'm going to keep it this way, but let me know if they should have lost it right as soon as they withdrew, before they even moved the pieces back to where they came from. Let me know. Because if they do it here, they're screwed. If they do it here, they're a little bit better off. So, that takes us to the next Muslim lord, which is actually Almoravid, who I'm not sure what to do with here. There's a couple of options. One would be to pursue, go up there and force a battle. They've got an advantage, not a huge advantage, certainly not an advantage that can't be overcome by the fact that the defenders will get to fire first. So the defenders will either fight, withdraw, or they will retreat. I don't know. They would probably just withdraw because they don't have the food to feed if they were to move. Muslims don't really know that. So, that's one option. The other option is to go up to Sancho here. Sancho's actually got some pretty beefy forces, especially if he's defending. So they could try and break that siege. And the other option is just to stay, get some provender and just chill. I don't think any of them are horrible ideas, but two of them can go horribly wrong and basically just undo the shift that they just created for themselves, the momentum shift. So, we could really capitalize on this and do something incredible, but I'm going to stay in Zaragoza and hopefully just ride now to victory because I don't want to take any risks. We just took a big risk by fighting an open field battle, and it went incredibly well, so I'm imagining we probably used up all the luck we have. So we're not going to test fate anymore. Let Alfonso come up if he wants to and sort out the mess that's been made by Alvar, but we're not going to put ourselves in any undue situations if we don't have to. Sancho is up next. He's going to try and break the siege again for the third time. It's a 50-50 shot. All he's got to do is roll a 1 to 3. So let me zoom out wide enough so you can see the roll and see if that really is the problem. So here we go. Just need a 1 to a 3. And that does appear to have been the problem because you could see the roll. And that means that they will get a victory point. It's really only a half because they're going to lose the ravaged marker. But they will capture that location, and now Sancho is free to roam around if he would like. I don't know what he's really going to go because there's no other really good places for him to attack, but he is free. Okay, so Alfonso is slowly making his way up, burning everything on his path to Zaragoza. He's going to try swing himself at Almundir, and if that doesn't work, then Sancho will come in, and then now they're just going to throw everything they've got at Zaragoza. They gotta break through, and what they could do is bypass. They got some coins, yada yada. There's some things that they can do to help rectify the situation, but it'll all depend over whether or not Almundir has a field battle or attempts to retreat or whatever. We'll see. But he's been making his way up there. On the other side of things, Almoravid is making his way east, and while we're here, we have the roll for Abu Allah. It's the same the others have been, 50-50. 1 to 3 is what he needs, and they will take Korea. It's to 5, no good. Unfortunate for him, and we'll move on. It would seem we're at yet another climactic moment. I thought a lot about what to do with this one, and Alfonso is going to march on Zaragoza. It was none of these situations are ideal anymore, but he's going to move in. So now, remove the bypass marker. The decision falls onto Almundir about what to do. And we're not really in much of a different situation than we were before, except they have a little bit less odds, less good of odds attacking-wise. They did lose one piece. The forces are just as good as the last time for the Christians, so they need to be unbesieged at the end of the turn. For a second, I thought, well, there's only 2 Christian lords. They can't besiege this area because it requires 3, but that's actually not how it is. You could have 1 besieging a city. It still besieges it. You just can't place any more siege markers. So I thought, well, they won't be besieged and it'll be okay. But no, that's not how it works. So they need to be unbesieged. So that means they have to fight or retreat. And we're in the same position. Parias is better than Reconquista. So let's fight. They're going to stand again. I have less hope than I did last time. But, now that they're going to stand and fight, it takes away the decision of Alfonso, who, if they would have retreated or whatever, they could have tried to go up here to Alvar to get him some coins, or Sancho as well. But as it stands, Sancho and Alvar will go away. Their service markers will take them out of the battle, out of the war. So I'm going to set up once again for this fight, and it's going to be another battle outside the walls of Zaragoza. The Muslims are high off of their last morale booster, but the odds are not in their favor. So here's how it looks. We can take a look at the forces to start off with, because we haven't seen these guys in a while. 2 knights, a knight apiece, some serfs, some militia, some sergeants and some men-at-arms. They do have slingers, though, which means they will have missiles. So that's at least a little something, which means they'll actually get to strike first in that regard. And then Almundir and Almostaine are basically unchanged, or are entirely unchanged from last time. So going through the battle procedure, no one's going to concede the field yet. We come up to missiles, Defenders, attackers. Attackers are first. Militia with slingers actually have a 1, which is very impressive. Slingers and javelins get you a ×1, which is very impressive. So they'll roll first. They're rolling against Almoravid, so it's 1 hit, and they're going to assign it to the men-at-arms. It's 1 to 3, and it's a 2. So blocked. Now we're going to go on to defending horse. It's 2 defending horse for a total of 2 hits. For Almoravid here, 2 hits. And he will assign those to the men-at-arms and the sergeant. So 1 to 3 on the sergeant, safe. Men-at-arms, safe. This one's going much more in their favor. So those 2 hits are blocked. Over here with Almoravid, he has 3 hits, 2.5 rounded up. And Pedro is going to take those on sergeant, men-at-arms. And he really doesn't want to take that one on the knight and the light horse. So let's do the sergeant first, 1 to 3. Safe. Men-at-arms, 1 to 3. Not safe. He is hit. And the light horse, which is a 1. No. Let me just double check. Yep, his armor is 1. So he's also gone. So Pedro has taken some hits. Almoravid has been a beast. I mean, he has come away unscathed and has absolutely decimated whoever he's faced off against. Big props to that guy. Okay. Now the attacker's horse. First for Alfonso. He has 2 hits for the knights and 1 hit for the sergeants. So 3 in total. Mustaine's going to put that against a sergeant, a man-at-arms, and a light horse. So sergeant 1 to 3. 6, man. The men-at-arms. 3, safe. Light horse 1, doesn't get it. So he's taking a battering there. It looks like the middle may collapse. Now over here to Pedro. He has 3 hits as well, 2 for the knights and 1 for the sergeant, and they're going to assign that to the 2 sergeants and the light horse. So the 2 sergeants, dang, both of them gone. Almoravid, who has probably had better luck than he should have, is finally coming back to bite him. And then the light horse, it's a 3, so that goes as well. They're in a bad spot, defending foot first. It's going to be 2 hits first for Almoravid. And Alfonso's going to assign that to knight and sergeant. Knight is safe. Sergeant is safe, man. They're getting these rolls that they need. It's still 2 as well, 1.5 rounded up for Almoravid. And Pedro's going to assign that to his knight and his sergeant as well. Knight is safe. Sergeant is safe. I think they're going to get away with this one. Now the attacking foot, so it's going to be 1 for the sergeants and then half for the militia and the serfs. So that is 2 hits for Alfonso. He's going to assign them against his last 2 remaining mundir, which is a sergeant and a militia. So 1 to 3. 1. Gone. He's down to bare bones. On Suarez is now on to 1 for his serfs. Almostain's gonna assign that to his men-at-arms, 1 to 3. Safe. Okay. That leaves, after round 1, very minimal, what seemed like they were going to be really bad, but very minimal losses for the Christians. And then Almoravid is decimated. He has just 1 man-at-arms. Almoravid has a man-at-arms and a militia, so he is also in a very bad way. The Christians obviously are not going to concede. Yeah, it's I think they're going to go to the death here. We want to keep Parius. We don't want Reconquista. So if they are destroyed, they are destroyed. Which they honestly may not be anyways, because they can just... They're not in control over whether or not they get those pieces back. I can always just choose not to take the coins, but they're going to try and do as much damage as possible. They're staying on. It'll be attacking missiles, 1. Against Mundir, he will assign it to the only remaining thing he has, 1 to 3 on his men-at-arms. Hits him for a 4, and Almundir is gone. He is routed. Now, on for defending horse. There is none. Attacking horse. It's going to be 2, 4, 6 hits. So we're going to do 3 on the men-at-arms and 3 on the militia. See, I don't know if you can double up the hits, like do them, like if, let's say I was to take 6 hits, could I put them all in the knights? I think so, as long as all 6 succeed. I'm not entirely sure, but in this situation, there's just a ton. So we're going to do 3 and 3. I guess we should roll these individually. So they both fail. It doesn't really matter. I should have stipulated, but they both fail. So Al-Mustain is gone. And they did not have another opportunity to swing. So it is a rout of the Muslim forces outside the walls of Zaragoza. On the second attempt, the King Alfonso just sweeps in, shows up Alvar, who really performed very poorly, and Alfonso is going to get to batter the walls of the city of Zaragoza with relative ease now. But let me wrap up first the losses and everything, and then I'll come back. So we are in an interesting situation here at the end of 1086, the early summer. So basically the way it worked out was that with the service shift, the markers for Almundir and Al-Mustain were way down here, which means that Almundir was out of it. There was no way they could bring him back. They didn't have enough coins, and they did have enough coins to move him, but that would mean other lords couldn't stay on the map, so they decided to let them both go, which was, I guess, kind of the idea. So Parius markers are placed here and here, and that brought the score to even. Actually, the Christians were ahead by half a victory point. It was 13.5 to 13. But if I'm reading it correctly, whenever on the type of politics sheet you go from independent to Parius, it says Christian lords at Muslim strongholds that would go neutral either remove, siege, bypass, or add jihad. So here is an area that was not conquered. It was a Muslim stronghold, and it was going neutral because it was going to Parius, and there was no siege or bypass to remove, to my understanding. Because, like, when he does the battle and his turn ends, I don't know if it automatically places a siege marker there. I guess it would, because there's nobody there to fight him. So I guess a siege marker would be placed. So then they could just remove the siege marker instead, I guess. I guess this goes back to my question earlier in another episode, I think, about if you conquer a jihad place, does it count as conquered? Because if it does, then this drastically changes. I still haven't got an answer in that forum, but I'll have to think about that, because I don't know what happens first, like, they're here and they defeat the opponents, the enemy, and then does that, what happens first? Does it immediately become Parius, or does it end his turn because he battled, in which case a siege marker is placed? I think a siege marker is placed, and then the jihad wouldn't go because they could just remove it instead. But then would they even want to if they can conquer it to get the victory points? You know what I mean? So, in any other circumstance, if we were just fighting a regular battle at a different place that wasn't this, when the fight was over, if no one was left, it would place a siege marker, I'm pretty sure. Because they're in a location where they're at an enemy stronghold. So I'm actually going to take these off for now and find that out. Because if there is the besiege marker there, I'm going to say take the besiege marker off, in lieu of not also knowing the other answer to the question I have about the conquering stuff. So 2 outstanding questions here as we end episode 3. But this has been a huge twist of the tail. First battle, I thought it was a long shot for the Muslims. They came back, and I said, okay, now it's a long shot for the Christians. And as it stands, they're a half a point ahead. So, of course, it's going to be an extra 1.5 for the Muslims, plus probably another half point for a conquered marker they're going to get. So that's going to be 2 points that the Christians are going to have to overcome. So it's still not entirely in their favor. And don't forget, the Muslims are down here sieging Toledo, so they're not out of the woods yet. They're going to have to get down there. One of the side effects I forgot to mention of the Paria stuff is now they have coins galore. So they're going to have all 5, whereas they were going to lose Alvar and Sancho. They're going to have all 5, and they're all in friendly territory as well. So they're going to be able to levy, whereas the Muslims are not. So they're going to have full forces. I mean, Garcia has a huge vassal here that he can just re-up, and he'll actually be stronger than he was before. So they're going to be rolling. I just think the clock's going to expire on them. If this had 2 more turns, I would say absolutely the Christians are going to roll this game. But since there's only 1 turn left, I don't think there's going to be enough. But we'll find out when the next time comes up. I hope we get some of those answers cleared up as well. So thanks for watching, and look out for the next episode.